When you think about, I'm embarking on a technical transformation for the business, I'm adopting cloud, or now, what we're all doing with generative AI and agentic AI, is at the core of things.
David Reilly, I am so excited to meet you and to chat with you. Before, obviously we've met. I've heard about you in the industry for a while. I love your journey. There aren't that many people who have run and managed really large, complex organizations and run their IT infrastructure. You've done that, in spades. So I know that you have a lot that you can share with the community. So first, I want to dive in and let you talk about kind of how you became the CIO over at Bank of America and kind of what led you over into WWT. But all frankly, I'm more interested in the experience of Bank of America right now.
So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to chat today. I'm really looking forward to it. So my career journey, like many practitioners who are at this event and are at subsequent events, you started at the lowest level in a job that for most of us no longer exists. For me, that was as a computer operator working night shifts. And so I worked midnight till 8 a.m. And what I did was monitor the batch. And when the batch failed, I would correct the programming language that was called JCL. None of these jobs exist anymore. They've all been automated away. What the job taught you, though, was, I think, the importance of detail and the attention to detail. And what are all the ways something can go wrong? A bad change, a bad piece of code, something run out of sequence, a defective piece of equipment, hardware. And I think that attention to detail, above all else, I think has stayed with me from the very beginning of that career as a computer operator right through to CIO. And I think what it teaches you most of all is, when you think about, I'm embarking on a technical transformation for the business, I'm adopting cloud, or now, what we're all doing with generative AI and agentic AI, is at the core of things. And I think as practitioners, sometimes we lose sight of this. You've always got to answer 5 questions about why you're implementing a given piece of technology. And these 5 things are linked.
I sense a book coming, but go ahead.
First, what's it going to do to the cost base of what it takes to run IT? Are you going to be increasing or decreasing the cost of IT for the business? Or are you actually going to help the business not save money, but actually make more money? You can answer that question. The second is, well, if I implement this new piece of technology, what's that going to do to the reliability of the systems that we run? Am I going to be able to deliver the level of reliability my business needs? Because if I inject too much fragility, which generally comes with complexity, I'm going to give something to the business that they tell me they need, but if it isn't reliable, it doesn't matter what it costs. It can be cheap, but if it isn't reliable, they're not going to be interested. If I know what I'm doing with expenses and I know what I'm doing with reliability, the third question as practitioners we have to ask is my business going to be better off? Am I giving them something that means they can go compete in the marketplace? If the answer to that is yes, then the fourth is, what does it do to how much risk we run every day? This applies not just in financial services, but of course it's key there. Am I bringing in more risk, more operational risk, more credit risk, more counterparty risk, more market risk than my business can understand in terms of their intentional risk appetite? And if I'm not, last question is talent. Have I got the people? And am I preparing my team to be able to run this stuff, not just on Monday, but on Tuesday, next month, next year? And that last question about ensuring the talent is given them the training and the capabilities that they need to come along the journey, while that's always been true, I don't think it's ever been more important than now. Because this new technology that we're all grappling with not just affords us an unbelievable opportunity to help grow the business, reduce risk, but it can be a little frightening for the practitioners. What does it mean for my job? And so I think as CTOs and CIOs and CISOs, it's critical that question, along with the other 4, is kept front of mind.
That's such a great framework. Those questions. So you're talking kind of the economics of it, the reliability, of it. How well is it actually going to serve the business? What's the risk profile associated? Are you going to be exposing a new risk vector, with this?
Exactly.
And then also, do you have the skill set to actually manage that infrastructure and so that it delivers on hopefully the number one and number three piece? It's like the business up to the business. And the cost advantage that you might be getting from it. Yeah, that's a really great framework. So when you're going through that, when you did that for internet and for cloud, were you doing models, or was this you're having lots of different meetings and you're talking to lots of the vendor community, all staff, and that's how you're processing and calculating things in your head?
That's what I found. Everything always came back to every business decision, every investment decision, every new adoption of technology decision. It came back to the balance of those 5 things. And when you couldn't answer one of them, at least one, ideally more than one, but at least one of them in the affirmative, often what you were looking at was a science experiment. All of us in technology, we think this is a great thing to do. Because as technologists, we've never met a problem that we couldn't build you a brand new solution to solve.
Yeah, well, that's so true.
We're great at building, not so great at retiring the old. And so this risk of, am I doing the IT for the sake of the IT? Or am I really doing it because there's a business objective in mind? I always found that coming back to those 5 questions helped you ensure that you didn't get too far away from or too close, I should say, to more the science experiment, tech for tech's sake, as opposed to doing it for a real business reason. Now, sometimes you go too far with intent because it's new and you need to learn, and we are in a bit of that moment now. But I still think keeping those things in mind is important to keep your business partners really close. So that the air gap between you and the business in terms of the adoption of any technology, but particularly these newer technologies, it's so important that you keep that gap as close as small as you can. Yeah,
that's really great, because I think what you've done, you've encapsulated a lot of the experience and the learnings that you've had in your career path, and now kind of package that for WWT, your work there. Because I'm sure your work at WWT is talking to lots of other folks who've had similar roles that you've had, and so now you can communicate the value of a new project or a new endeavor or undertaking in that kind of context. So have you kind of been using it in that way?
Yeah, I've used it, I think, for the last 20 years. And fellow CIOs and CTOs, they may use different words, slightly different language, but the drivers are always the same. And it's surprising that there doesn't seem to be a 6th one. It seems to be these 5 that you keep coming back to. And it's so important as a practitioner to have a framework that works for you. The enemy of a lot of these new technology adoptions for us is we don't ensure we have enough time to finish. The worst thing in the world that can happen is that you embark on one of these transformations, and then there's a leadership change. There's an organizational change. And everything that was good is now bad. Everything that was bad is now good. And it's less leadership change, more regime change. The enemy there is time. Ensuring that we create a framework with our business partners where the language is consistent, the drivers don't change, you can bring them along for that journey. And if it's going to take 3 years to achieve a particular objective, could be a business objective, a risk objective, a cost objective, be transparent about that. Because I think when we protect our teams from that moment when the strategy gets turned upside down, something changes, I'm bringing in a consultant to help me do X, Y, Z, all the things that are a signal for I'm losing confidence in the leadership of my technology organization. Time or losing time, I think, is our enemy. Ensuring that we are creating enough runway time-wise for our teams to finish the job. I think that's really job number 1 for us as CIOs or CTOs or CISOs. Well,
I think also too, it's as I think through those 5 points, the 5th point is the one that you're dealing with scale. All right, it's because you can evaluate the technology, you can evaluate the economics, you can evaluate whether it's reliable or not. You can understand what the risk profile it is pretty quick. You can understand whether it's going to add value to the business. All those boxes get checked. But then if you have I don't know, how many people did you have, like, in over at Bank of America? Like,
I mean, large financial services organizations wouldn't be unusual for there to be 20, 30, 40,000.
Yeah, so you have to
between
bring
partners,
yeah.
Between staff augmentation, employees. It's a big ship to turn in these large organizations.
Yeah. So that's got to be the biggest, I think, consideration in those 5, is because it's not just 10 people. It's like 10, 20,000 people that that you have to bring along with that. And that's the challenge, and that's the leadership, that's demanded in that role.
And I think as a technical leader, the talent that you have in your organization, it's a super competitive environment out there. Always has been, always will be.
Yeah.
You could argue never more competitive than now.
Yeah.
Your job is to ensure, you pay people what they deserve. There's a path to promotion. But fundamentally on that talent question, I've got to make sure I'm giving team members a reason to stay.
Yeah.
If other companies give them a reason to join them, okay, sometimes that's going to happen and you accept it.
Yeah.
As long as you didn't give anybody reasons to leave, then you're doing the right thing. Again, that's the acid test, I think. Am I paying people appropriately? Am I giving them the training, the development, the opportunities, the location, where they would want to work? It's really important that we keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes someone comes along, they'll give them an enormous comp jump, the next job up that you don't have available. Fine. God bless. Do what you can to have people leave with grace and dignity. Yeah. But ensure that you're not giving them reasons to leave. Yeah, so good of you. Okay, great. Let's take this and now apply it to like what's happening today in the industry. So it's mostly kind of like how AI is evolving and really coming upon us like so quickly. So, and you were mentioning this kind of before we started to record, is that this was the first kind of wave of technology where the CEO and the CIO found out the technology at the same time. So, and what we've been seeing within our community is that most of the boards are pressuring CEOs, okay, you've got to do something around this AI thing, whether that's increase productivity or streamline the business or what have you. And then that gets communicated down to the CIO. And then, then there's, okay, well, what do we do? How do we approach it? There's a whole like wrapping your mind around a problem, a potential problem or a solution that you have to like now communicate to your board. So there's expectation setting there. There is like, you need time to process. You need time to kind of figure out what's the right thing to do. Once you do figure out the right thing to do, are you ready for it? Is the infrastructure ready for it? So, maybe we can use the 5, points as a way to kind of guide people through that kind of what could be an uncomfortable exercise that many are going through right now. I think in my career, I can't come up with an example that went from 0 to 60 as quick as this has done. I mean, it was the very, very end of 2022 that ChatGPT gained global recognition when OpenAI released the model. And at that time, coincidentally, I was at a bunch of VC events that were attended by enterprise CIOs. And every single enterprise CIO was in the same spot. This wasn't even on my radar until today. And today my CEO has asked me, what are we doing? And I haven't got an answer to that question. And I think that mismatch, we normally have a bit of time to prepare. Is this even the kind of thing that needs something as, I'll say, mundane, as a policy framework, a governance framework? Of course it does. But you generally have time to think about that because you're connected to the industry, you're at the coalface, you find out about these things before anyone else. This is a bit unusual. Because even board members would have seen that at the same time. So all of your stakeholders are asking you at the same time as we're trying at the back end of 2022 to figure out how you were going to adopt it. And so I think we're still dealing with a little bit of that being off balance. I do think the most important thing to have done, and by now everybody has, in addition to a policy framework and some form of governance framework, is to start. Learning about these technologies is critical. And the only way to do that is to try a couple of use cases. Don't take any undue risk, and maybe it's more research and development and testing than it is production deployment. Anything that in your enterprise, with your enterprise's risk appetite, means that you can get going and begin to learn is key. While you're doing that, the new thing that you're up against is every single one of your OEM partners is bringing to you new AI capabilities that are being embedded into their products.
Yeah, true.
And so you've got to figure out, well, am I ready to adopt those pieces of technology? I think the second thing you have to do as you're learning with your own team about how you implement these technologies, where are there good use cases, where are there not so good use cases, because I think some of the places that we've initially deployed the technology may not be places that in the long run it's going to be super effective, and some places where we would think that's not going to be helpful, it probably will be.
Yep.
Being able to apply those learnings rapidly, do that in a nimble way, and learn the lessons.
Yeah.
So where do I find that I've deployed a piece of that technology, it isn't as performant as I thought it would be. It costs me more money to run it than I thought it would. I've got other foundational issues like my data isn't where I'd want it to be. It's not organized or categorized or cataloged in the way I'd want it to be. I think as a CIO, you have to view those issues, those learnings, just as news. Not bad news, not good news. Let someone else to decide with what it is, but news.
Yeah.
And you have to explain, if we deploy this use case where through our learning, we've found there's a killer opportunity for our business, make more money, save money, less risk, the factors that we spoke about, but I'm building it on a fragile foundation, we have to press pause. No one else is going to do that for us. And I think being clear-eyed about that, particularly when there is the level of almost exuberance about the adoption of that technology. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think it's incumbent on us to be a little bit of the disappointed parent with enthusiasm and not to be a naysayer. I'm not suggesting that for a moment. But we have to be a bit more of the glass half empty. If we're not, and then God forbid something happens and something does go wrong, then when we look over our shoulder to talk to our business partners and our boss and our CEO and our board about, well, none of us saw that coming, they're all going to be gone, and it'll be you. It's incumbent on you as a technical leader, I think, to raise your hand to say, this is working, but we've got some tangential investments or improvements we need to make in our enterprise because we have these, let's say, legacy environments, and we can talk a bit more about what some of those things are. I think that's crucial for us as leaders. So it's not to tamp down the enthusiasm by any means, but we have to be more, let's say, realistic than perhaps optimistic.
And I think it's the whole readiness, as well. So I think the advice you're offering is like really great. So it's like, one, start. You can't afford not to start because we're living in exponential growth times, and that where every day looks the same until it doesn't.
Until it doesn't.
And that could just happen like that. And if you have other competitors who have been already on that journey, you could really find yourself in kind of a world of hurt and really behind, in this environment. So getting started so you can actually start to do the analytics or start to exercise the analytics of understanding what the technologies are, what they actually do for you. Are your expectations like too high, too low? Really, how ready is your organization and staff to kind of adopt them? I think that's great, and that's
learning's key.
That's prudent.
I also think you'll find people in your organization that may surprise you. There'll be people in your team who gravitate towards this technology in a way that will surprise you and you won't expect. And there may be people that you would think would embrace it who are a little more skeptical, a little more cautious. I think part of that learning comes back to that talent question. Have I got some hidden gems here who've almost been waiting for this opportunity, whether it's around code creation, use case testing, penetration testing, red team testing in the cyberspace? I would look for those opportunities, because if you can find those advocates who are running towards these new technologies in a thoughtful way, you're going to want to do something with that resource to keep them close.
So out of, kind of your view in the world, so like you've been at WWT for a while, so now you get the view to see lots of other organizations, so before like working with one, you'll still get to talk with peers and so forth, but now you might be getting a little kind of a deeper, dive in. Are there any particular use cases that, that you've been seeing that, is like, okay, that's a really great use case. That's a really good area that we should all be focusing on, to start your kind of journey on down this, down kind of becoming an enterprise AI company?
I think it's still very early.
Oh, wow.
Beyond the ones that are starting to get market-wide traction. Contact center is one.
Yeah.
Customer support and customer assistance. We've moved to a place now where I think those use cases have gone from supporting the agents in the contact center to, in many cases now, dealing directly with the end customer.
Yeah.
Code development, code assistance is one.
Yeah.
I think the next wave will be in cyber defenses.
Yeah.
If you take a look at the way these technologies are being used by the bad actors,
Yeah.
it's actually disappointingly impressive.
Yeah.
They're incredibly innovative.
Yeah, they're always motivated. You know, it's
and you know, you watch what happens, and you wish if I could turn you in the other direction, I'd probably hire you because you're very creative, you're very innovative. I think we run the risk of not keeping up with their pace when it comes to raising our own shields and protecting our enterprises.
Yeah.
2 use cases I think that for the cyber teams, or 3 are key: penetration testing,
Yeah.
red team assessments, and I think in the security operations center, in the SOC, you're overwhelmed or can be overwhelmed with alerts.
Yeah.
So you've got to sort through the signal to get to the noise to get to the signal. And I think those 3 areas, red team, pen testing, and SOC analysis, are ones that will be incredibly beneficial to help protect all of our enterprises.
Yeah.
And I still think there are a couple of things as a CIO you have to say, even as you're driving those use cases. Am I prepared to scale these use cases when I surface them? What are the things that could hold me back from being able to scale these technologies? And how do I ensure that I've got balance between pushing hard on these generative use cases or these agentic use cases and ensuring that my enterprise is fit for purpose, that it's ready? Those the 3 things that strike me, and I think I see them across the board: technical debt and end-of-life technology is continuing to be an anchor that is holding people back.
Yeah. So is the anchor around data? So it's like, you know, the data is locked into these older systems, and they have different kinds of syntaxes and formats, and it's just hard to kind of suck all that data out, like all that really rich customer data, and then repurpose that, you know, to either create the same experience that they had before, maybe on a cheaper platform, better platform, or to enhance, create new experiences for your customers. So, but is it more than that? Is it, you know, I'm kind of thinking of the tech debt as that one that's revenue generating, don't breathe on it. It's working, you know? And then also if you do want to do something with it, it's just hard to kind of repurpose it, retrofit it.
I would almost bifurcate those 2 problems. The data, I think, is the bigger one.
Yeah.
The technical debt one, if you look across your architecture, have I got hardware that I rely on that is already end of life, that if I don't remediate, it's playing a key part in running my enterprise? I've got to address that. Have I got software that is end of life, and I need to do these upgrades? Not just for production reasons, not just for risk reduction reasons, not just for reliability reasons, but I've got to ensure that I can keep pace with what's coming. Yeah. No one's going to want a conversation about investing in old technology when you could be investing with AI. Our job is to make sure that's one and the same conversation.
Yeah.
Because then the data problem that sits on top it's exactly as you laid it out. It's not a complicated problem. It is a somewhat complicated solution. Most of our enterprise systems, the transaction systems that run the company, the books and records, where your customer data lives, where all your customer information systems are. Yeah. Those tend to be those operational systems that have been around a while.
A long time.
And when they were implemented, data wasn't a first-class citizen. The application was the first-class citizen. I'm going to deliver this degree of application capability. This is how you onboard a client. This is how you understand what a client's doing. This is how you offboard a client. Here's how we report to a client. That app functionality was number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2 was, I'm just going to put this in a database, and I may duplicate that database somewhere else because it's not quite perfect for this other application. So it's not a perfect duplicate. So it's not exactly the way I'd want it to be, but I'm going to stamp out another copy and then enrich that data, and then I'm going to do it a 3rd and a 4th and a 5th time. Yeah. So what you find is the record that is David.Reilly, date of birth, first line of address, social security number. These tend to live in multiple systems inside your enterprise. A company may look like Ford EV, Ford North America, Ford Automotive Company.
Yeah.
They represent themselves in different ways because we never had to do it any differently.
Yeah.
That gives us a challenge today. Not a new challenge.
Yeah.
This has been true for the years that we've all said data is the new oil. Data is the fuel that will drive our company.
Yeah.
Always true. But now, unless we have that data organized in a way where we could say it is complete, it is correct, it has all the attributes we would need to do all the things that our business, our finance partners, our risk partners need to do, we're going to put a bit of a patchwork in place to make up for that. I think the biggest thing that will hold us back in terms of aggressive adoption and safe adoption is data rationalization. So that, to me, is the second of the three risks that we've really got to ensure that as technical leaders we're on top of. And it is not a complicated problem. You know, how we got here, there probably wasn't another path, particularly for established companies, where app was number one, data was number two.
That's really so insightful.
You have to find a way to invert that.
Yeah. It's extremely insightful, you know, because you're absolutely right. Like most of the applications were written for, the functionality associated with the application, and we really never did think about the data, you know, and now really we're kind of inverting that. So data stewardship is going to be really kind of a class A core competency, you know, within most large organizations to really kind of get ready for either streamlining kind of workflows and operations and writing new applications, you know, in this new AI era is.
And I think the big question, even on top of that, who in your company owns that asset? Who is the primary custodian of that data? I would argue it should be the business or the function that's responsible for that, primarily responsible for that. It shouldn't be the IT team.
Yeah,
in many enterprises, though, data ownership does live with the IT team because it is still viewed as ones and zeros.
Yeah,
that's an IT thing, and I think turning that corner, and many companies are doing this. The data itself, who's responsible for its completeness and its correctness? That's got to be the business. How it is secured, where it is stored, that's the IT team.
Yeah.
But I think until we can turn the collective corner, that we can genuinely say our lines of business or our functions are primarily responsible for the completeness and correctness of the data. What that does, by the way, is it ensures when the data is born through a piece of commerce, I made a loan, I did an x-ray, whatever it would be in the industry you're in, I wrote an insurance policy. The business undertakes those transactions as long as they change the process to ensure that when that data is born, it's complete and it's correct. Then I think we've got a sustainable way to ensure that data remediation is not a one-off transaction. It's not an episodic thing. It's something that's forever.
Yeah, awesome. Great insight. So I want to just have one more conversation or topic, you know, before we end, because I can go on really long with you. You are just you're like so fascinating, you know, kind of have this kind of discussion with, but people, skills and staff. So about 18 months ago, we had Gene Sun, who is the CISO over FedEx, say he gave a keynote, and one of his messages was that AI will not replace your job, but people with AI skills will. James Beeson, who is now the CISO over at Pfizer in Dallas, Pfizer's mantra is that either change the people or change the people. So there is a real large impetus for getting people skilled around AI. There's also, we know that there are reduction in forces, and there's also early retirement. And once those recs are gone, they're not being replaced, and they're basically being told, you can use AI tools, you know, to get whoever is there more productive. Don McMillan over at Walmart, you know, 2.1 million people working in that company. They're projecting growth around 4% for the next 3 years. They're basically keeping headcount constant, and they're saying that AI is going to help make everybody else productive. That's about $160 billion that will be, it wouldn't fall to the bottom line, but pretty much a lot of it will. So how do you deal with a large organization and to help get them skilled? And it's not even just the skill piece of it, but it's the cultural part of it, you know, as well, right?
Yeah.
Because some may view it as being for example, they may get an AI tool that is able to kind of look at a very large space and it's their responsibility, but they didn't have the tools to look at it. And now all of a sudden they're looking at that. They were never able to really optimize this, in a really great way. So there's a lot of cost savings that are coming from the AI tool, and that might feel threatening, to them. And so maybe they may not want to kind of adopt it, so there's a lot of nuances around the staffing and the skilling part of this equation, your number 5 piece that you were talking to. So what's some guidance, around that?
I think it's irresponsible for us as senior leaders not to face that question about, if we implement this technology, if we become an AI first company, if we deploy agents across the company that do things, fulfill functions that previously we had humans doing, I think you have to face the fact of, well, one of 4 things should be true, and maybe it's a combination, but I need to be able to measure and quantify across these 4 things. First, is it going to reduce my expenses? For most companies, people are a big part of their expense base. And so we have to ask that question. That's not to say that you have to say that, yes, it is. I think you have to face up to it. And even if, as a CIO, I think today, no one's asking you, it is only a matter of time before that your CFO asks you that question. You keep telling me about all this productivity. Where's it going? And I think that's what we have to prepare for. So thing 1 is, will the implementation of this technology mean that I can reduce my headcount? Maybe I do it through attrition. Maybe I do it through retirement. Maybe it's not a reduction in force. But is it going to reduce my expenses and within that headcount? Second, maybe it's not going to do that. Is it going to help my business grow revenue? And can I measure that too? So I'm not going to take any money out of the system, but we're going to grow. And how are we going to grow? And in the same way that if I committed to a headcount reduction, I know who's on the hook to deliver that. I need the same clear-eyed view of who's on the hook to grow the revenue. First name, last name. Like that degree of uncomfortable precision. Maybe it's not going to reduce expenses or heads. Maybe it's not going to grow revenue. The third would be, is it going to reduce risk? Compliance risk, data risk, security risk, whatever it would be. And again, how would we quantify that? And maybe it's not doing any of those 3 things, but it's actually going to make us more productive. We're going to deploy it in places where we have a high error rate for a particular business process we run, or we just have to do more and more of it. And this is a great technology we can deploy so that we can grow our productivity. No one's going to be let go. We're not going to reduce risk, although maybe we could. It's an argument, but it's mostly productivity, and it isn't going to help us directly grow revenue. These things, of course, overlap. They're not discrete. But I think where we are right now, it's mostly number 4. It's fingers and toes. People are more productive. These agents are great. They never go on holiday. They never have a bad day. They never sleep. They just keep delivering the same results.
They're always kind.
And they're always kind and certain and very assured. I think those are the 4 things to think about. Do I reduce expenses, i.e. heads? Do I grow revenue? Do I reduce the risk my company runs every day, which is great for my company and my customers? Or do I get more productive, but productive in a way where it won't flow to the bottom line? And I think you've got to be able to, even when no one's asking you to measure, you've got to start thinking of that now, because that day's one day closer than it was yesterday. The same will be true tomorrow. And I think when you start to look at it across those 4 dimensions, you can say, well, what we really need to develop is a framework for how we use AI responsibly. How do we as a company think about the deployment of these technologies? A year from now, if we look back, what would we wish we had done? What should we have had in place so that we start to make decisions in a more consistent way? And when it doesn't fit our framework, it doesn't fit with intent. It wasn't an accidental decision. We deliberately took a tangent over here because we thought it would be interesting. And I think part of that framework, by the way, should be, because of the pace we spoke about earlier, we're gonna go down a certain path here. generally we take a long time to figure out whether something's working or not working. We have to be much faster here.
Yeah.
This is one where you've got to move more quickly. And I think that framework, which revolves around measurement and how responsibly you're going to use AI, that I think is an important thing for us to begin off the back of the governance that almost all enterprises have put in place. What do we want to be true about our use of AI? You know, in some way, some shops we have principles around when we buy software, and we have principles around when we build software.
Yep.
And generally, we make consistent decisions. No different here. Now, we're all learning. These frameworks don't exist. We're going to have to figure it out as we go. But I think as a CIO, looking forward to say, what am I going to wish I would have put in place? A framework around the way we responsibly use AI in our corporations, I think is something we should start thinking about now.
Yeah. David, this has been so insightful. You know, it's like you're such a great voice for the industry. I'm actually just like so happy that you're at WWT now, that you get to actually express yourself, you know, in a large format,
Well,
you know. So thank you so much for sharing your thought leadership, you know, with us. Looking forward to your keynote tomorrow as well. But it's been a pleasure, and also really great to get to know you as well.
You too. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Great.